and to kind of like set the scene, so you know how serious this session is. 12 months ago during Lagos Games Week, we had a pitch competition, which we're doing again today. Victory and Tade came out as joint winners of that pitch competition. 12 months after, we want to hear from them and hear what they have achieved. But I think like what for me is most exciting is that today's pitch competition, the winner gets to travel to Germany in August. Like in the panel I was in earlier, I spoke about this, where we're going to be by 2030. And for me, like that's really what we're trying to build, an industry that connects talent with opportunity, that helps people achieve their desires and their dreams. So without further ado, I've set the scene. Can we get introductions?
Hi everyone. So I'm Tade. I build games. I've been building games for a while, and I plan to publish my current game next month. It's called Go North. It's an exploration-based game, and yeah.
Okay, it works. And hi everyone, my name is Victory. Everybody knows me by VCD. I'm one of the lead developers behind the InBetween at VCD Studios, a game that we are hoping to launch this year.
I love that. Hoping to launch. So we'll get into that because I want to unpack what that means. But let's even start with you as a person. Like where are you based? How did you get into games? Like how would you describe the games industry from your point of view? Can we have silence in the back, please? Thank you.
Okay, so as an indie dev, I'm actually based in Ogun State, Ajiboye to be specific, and I'd spent at most up to 6 years in game development. Actually earlier, if you count my days as a level editor when I was back as a little kid. So video games had always been something that I'd always wanted to do as a sound career, if not games then animation or both, as we've seen in my project's case. And the industry, at least from my point of view, within this country though, it's kind of felt like if you kind of like don't go out there to see people like learn about it, it can very easily come off as the fact that, I'm sure you said that sentiment somewhere like, we don't have Nigerian game developers or we don't have any games, that kind of stuff. So that's pretty much how it was for me at first, and that was probably how it was for a lot of people as well, until I kind of got access to a couple of groups from WhatsApp to Facebook, even Discord, and from there the network just grew more and more, and that's how I ended up learning at the end of the day that the indie game industry, especially in Nigeria, is going strong.
Excellent. Same question for you, Tade.
Yeah, so I live in Lagos. I've technically been building games since I was a kid. My parents sent me and my siblings to this IT camp thing where we did like a week-long session on stickman animation, game building, and collage making. So since then, I used to make tiny little games to play with my friends using GameMaker 6 then, before GameMaker Studio. So I've had a long history of building games, if maybe not commercially. I also have a long history of playing games. I play a lot of games. I'm quite good, so it helps. And yeah, that's the answer to your question, I believe.
Talk about being a solo developer. I know you're a solo developer. Victory, sounds like you have a team already. Am I correct? That you have a team?
Yeah, I started solo, but now I have a crew.
So slightly divergent approaches. So maybe speak more about being a solo developer and why. And then Victory, you can speak about your journey starting a solo and then building a team and why as well.
Okay, so a huge chunk of my career in game development has been mostly freelance. So I have built different games for different clients across different industries. But I'm interested in I guess, improving the Nigerian game ecosystem. I want to change that narrative of we don't have good Nigerian games and all of that. And so that's why I ventured out to build my own games. The reason I'm doing this solo is more like a personality type. So for the current game I'm building, I contract out some of the work. Some concept art, some 3D modeling, I contract out to local talent. But before I form a team and put together a studio, I sort of want to prove that this is a thing that makes sense to do. So I don't want to meet people that I think are talented and be like, yo, let's build a game, we can make a lot of money, we can change stuff, and just be talking about it and then trying to convince them. I don't like talking a lot. So this, my first foray, is to sort of show what's possible. Like, okay, this exists, this hits so and so milestones. With this addition, with you on the team or whatever, we can do much better. And that's why I currently am bearing the weight or responsibility of doing this myself.
12 months ago, both of you were on stage. We were at the Microsoft office in Victoria Island. I think it was a wet day, like this one, if I remember correctly. You guys pitched alongside other people. We went and deliberated, and we came back and we said we couldn't decide on one winner because we were very much impressed with what you guys had worked on. What did that moment mean to you? If you can reflect, like in that moment, like what did it mean to you? Tade, we can start with you.
Yeah. I prayed you would start with him. What did it mean to me? I guess it was an interesting experience. There was, aside from the judges, there were like a crowd, like you guys there, and I could see. Because in my pitch, it was mostly just some overview on the game, and then I played a trailer just to get right into the gameplay so you know exactly what it looks like, what it's about. And playing that and sort of the reactions across the room, aside from the judges, the audience, was interesting to see. It made me realize that at least I'm achieving some of the aims that I set, which is people could see that this was a quality game. Like everybody was amazed by the visuals, and that was good feedback. And I felt okay about that.
Okay, so the experience for me was kind of like two major things I got that day. I mean, the first one, basically, as a dev out there, like, thank God I'm not alone this time. Nobody looking at me alone this time. That was basically how I felt the first time. Then the second one was basically before I ended up showing up there, which honestly I didn't want to at first until I got called to just go there. My friend there, he knows himself. He's the one that dragged me there that day. So when I ended up going there, I actually still had a bit of like imposter syndrome in there. Because I know technically the game had already been showcased enough times and everything, but like I seen it that way information like, is there something I missed somewhere that I still need to go back and do? Then I ended up going up in there. I didn't even really edit the trailer much to cut down the time. It was way too long. The trailer was way too long and everything, so I was like, if this thing somehow in some way won, then I guess I'm doing it right, I guess. And next thing you know, I also that's why even in the video, do you hear that word like Yeah, I was shocked. But overall, I was still pretty happy that despite everything, after all these years that had been spent on the game, that at least the people out there, both in the professional and even in the casual space, that look at that game and be like, yeah, this is definitely something I want to play at some form. Even though the game can be hard at times, but that's something that I want to play, which I was definitely fine with.
Something that we didn't quite elaborate on in the fine prints after you guys won is that after 12 months, we'll have to bring you people back on stage and ask you, waiting Apple, since that time, right? So, Tade and I were together in Helsinki about 2 weeks ago. And one of the things that we spoke about, like on the side, was this concept of like accountability, right? Okay, you don't win, you can't disappear, you go and hide again, and then nobody sees you, nobody sees the game. You understand? It's not really about the money, obviously, because it's not even a lot of money. It's really about that progress, that you can come back and say, since that time, look at all these new updates. Are you exhibiting? Okay. So let's talk about, you talked about maybe published this year, right? Let's talk about the journey since then, developing the game for you specifically. And, like what is your own attitude towards getting this game out there? Because 12 months is a long time. And that 12 months already gone by. And we have another 6 months before the year is done. What are your thoughts around, like what's the journey of developing since that time frame? Now knowing that the community has seen it, they have shown some appreciation, what does that mean for you?
Okay, so basically, I think it was around September, or August. The major mindset within ourselves was like, oh boy, everybody has seen this thing. We have to get this thing out one way or another, but we also need to get this thing out in a way that's like, yes. But also on the other side, I also like, this is a short game. How are we going to see that? So the major mindset that we ended up going through in terms of development was like, we know that this is basically a first chapter of the 3-chapter series. That's what we've mentioned many times. And although the experience might be short, it will definitely not be like the Hollow Knights and always out there. But the major idea is, no matter what is already in there, we'll still need to still go back, revisit and check. Does this feel like a fun ride that somebody will suddenly just stumble into and be like, okay, I am definitely having a lot of fun in this place and I'll definitely remember it easily, no matter how many years have passed. So that was kind of what we went back to. There was basically one whole section in the game that is completely optional, but for the explorers out there, called the Forsaken Village, which was more like, it's more about the player Pipit simply stumbling back into his past, like from his ancestry and everything, what truly happened even before he was born, and how he's going to confront that moving forward. So basically, it was that major part where the player would end up having to grow as a person, both in terms of emotional maturity and also in terms of powers, because there are a lot of powers in there to reward how difficult that place is going to be. But that was also pretty much how it was in real life as well. We've seen how it was in the past, but we also still had to use that to go and tighten ourselves up as a crew. So there were many more times where we had to like host many meetings amongst ourselves. Very brief, because we do not like all these kind of very long meetings, trust me. But it was to the point, and it was like, how are we progressing in this? Are we able to complete this stuff on time? And we actually do our best and actually end up delivering. So now I am very glad to say that in terms of the major technicalities, we are done. It's just the polishing and the animation that is just left. So it was that rush that we ended up having to do. But knowing the rush, like we are gonna suddenly drop this thing in a very super ultra janky buggy mess. But the rush, like we are almost there. And we also still had to make sure to keep quiet, because I don't know, it's still more of a me thing, because I know the rest of the crew is not really into that sort of situation, but it's something that me personally I really, which is like, the more I say this particular thing that I'm going to do out loud, the more it's going to run away from me. In 2023, I actually wanted to drop the thing out there. Thankfully, I did not drop the game out then, because many of the cooler ideas that we had later on would never have happened. But back in 2020, I was like, I am going to release this thing in October. Fast forward to March, when NEPA happened, and we definitely did not have lights for a whole 8 months. I had to run everywhere to get that done. So we know how to prevent that. We just mostly had to go into radio silence. Although to say it's stressful is going to be, like to say it's not stressful would actually be a lie, because there were a lot of times where I'd actually end up stress eating, and I'm sure many of my friends have seen me now, can already see the results of that already in the current day. But
No, it's called the good life.
see what I mean? But yeah, that was also contributed to it. But the overall stress was not even more of like, this thing is going to be hard, or I can't do this feature on time. Because there were many times in development where I'd be like, wouldn't it be cool if I suddenly get this guy some cool dash ability? Or wouldn't it be cool if he did this and that? No. That was the best part of development. I was in development heaven for a while, even. But the major stress was mostly just trying to reaffirm to myself and with everybody else that the game that we are making is fun. The game that I'm making is good. There was even a time like last month where I ended up sharing with my crew that's basically the Forsaken Village portion of the game. I played the entire section to them. It was a whole 30-minute to 1 hour session. And I was very surprised when everybody was like, whoa, what the heck? This thing even needs anime dubbing and stuff. Like, wow. But yeah, we're really glad that how far have already come because now they are very close, closer than ever. And that's how the 12 months have been. Tough but fun, but a lot of fun.
Thank you. Do we have any questions in the room? Show of hands, we got one.
Where are the questionnaires? This is the only time you can ask questions, so these guys know the tricks. So
Okay.
raise that
Whilst
hand.
I have a question before, then after my question, we have two questions, two hands up. Tade, this is for you. Feature creep is a thing. Like how do you, especially when you are the sole producer, right? Sole developer, you have 100% autonomy. Like how do you define done, and how do you stop yourself from saying, wait, I can do this also, I can add this, I can continue. Like if I don't release it next month, nobody is going to come to my house and hold my shirt. How do you avoid that? How do you manage that?
I think that's a good question. Scope creep is crazy. I consider myself a very disciplined person. But even at that, there's always I want to add this, I want to do this. And I guess the most effective way in cutting that down for me has been publicly announcing a release date. So, I decided on a release date, and technically that's good enough for me because I'm a disciplined person. But even just like saying it out there, okay, this game is coming out July 28th, it has been the single most effective thing in ensuring that I know exactly what I can do in July 28th. So it did the opposite of creep because I had to cut stuff out. Yeah, I had plans already, and I'm like, yeah, this can make it before now. And I needed to figure out the version of Dawn that could work in that timeline. So setting a set timeline, and because I'm also, again, a lot of this, I guess, is personality-wise. I can't say I'm going to do something and not do it. I can turn to gas. So having said that, I need to forget the ideas, forget the dreams, and focus on what is possible. And that has been the single most effective way of achieving this for me.
I love that, public accountability. All right, question, Site?
Yes, hello. So my question is to both of you, because first of all, your games are very striking and noticeable if you've seen them. Like I see Go North, I see it on all the wholesome games, on all these international things, and even the InBetween. Like, wasn't it featured right now in Pocket Game Connects in Barcelona? Right now, naturally.
Yes.
But yeah, your games really stand out, and game development is very hard, like globally, let alone in Africa, let alone in Nigeria. But you both seem to be reserved people. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but like the choice to, I think even with the choice of being solo developers, like yes, you get a lot of control over the project product, but it's a big challenge. It's a big challenge, and I want to find out from you because for what I know about Nigerians and especially Lagos is that everyone's very quick and aggressive with like not business, but it's like assertive. Everyone's very assertive here. So I want to find out, like, do you find being a solo game developer from within Africa? Okay, wait, let me rephrase my question, sorry. How do you overcome any challenges that are very specific to being a solo developer that you might not want to do yourself? Like if it's for your personality, whether it's like marketing your game a lot or talking business to people, like how do you do it within your context in Nigeria, whether in Lagos or is it Ogun State? Where is it? But anyway, yeah. How do you guys do it individually?
So are you asking what is their superpower?
No, I know there's superpowers, they're talented, but like basically as solo developers within Africa already, which within Nigeria specifically, where as a game developer, you always need other people. But like even within Nigeria, within Africa, it's even more challenging, but you still need people. And because you are solo developers and you seem to be quite reserved people, but how do you get the help from people around you locally, or what do you do? How do you do it? How do you go about it within your context?
So for me, it's a couple of things. So there are a few things that I can't do myself. For instance, I can't make music yet. The way I've been able to achieve collaboration right now has just been like contract. So I just pay for the services I need. So if I need a 3D model, I pay a trusted, talented person to do it for me. If I need a music person, I pay for that.
Sorry, are they local or do you?
Yes. So everybody that has contributed to this game has been local talents. There's even a guy over there that does 3D models for me. He's very great. Daniel Oji, shout out to him. Yeah, but I'm very intentional about that because one of the things I'm trying to achieve with building games, I mean, I could continue like freelancing or working and I would be enjoying a better life than now. But I want to sort of prove that we have the talents to create good games. And to prove this, I can't go ahead and contract out work to some established 3D studio because that's not necessarily proving that we have those individual talents. So the only part of my game that I can say that isn't locally sourced is marketing, and that's because I'm collaborating with a foreign team, and that's because we haven't sort of figured that out here in Nigeria. But aside from that, there's a guy that's also, I don't know if he's here, he does game music for me, local talents. And so I just contract out some of this work that I can't do myself. It's like, okay, I need music. I'm not about to learn how to make music. Take the small money I have. Please manage it. You know what I'm trying to do, help my life. And yeah. But like you said, I'm very reserved. So I'm pretty direct in my talk. First, I kind of like, this is what I'm building. And that kind of helps because they're like, oh, I would love to work on this. And so therefore, it's sort of easier to continue conversations like, okay, well, cost and whatever. But it's mostly been very clear-cut. This is what I need. How much would you charge? Yeah, for me, yeah.
And as for me, honestly, like I've mentioned before, I'm more the kind of person that if I'm interested in that thing, I would like to learn how to do the thing myself. It could be anything from drawing to basic engineering and repairs, anything at all. If it's interesting and I want to do it, I'll do it. So even in this context, so where maybe I was stumped on something that I really didn't know how to do. On a normal day, I could have saved up and hired, but normally being broke, very broke, that time, if I couldn't just know anybody and just hire as well. So back then, though, even till now, I was still pretty much more active on Discord as well. I've been in a lot of communities, even the official community for the engine I use. So whenever I was talked on something related to programming or code, I just basically asked around, like, does anybody know how to do this particular feature or something? And thankfully, many of them have seen the game I'm building, so they were very happy to just help me out on that. And even prior to when the game got some visibility, remember, like I said, the InBetween was literally the first game I actually started learning how to animate and how to make music and all those basic stuff for. This InBetween was like my testing ground for that. But while I was doing all of this, many of these things, I basically just had to meet people who were very clearly better at me at all this basic stuff. Like in terms of art, now there's somebody, Nathan, from, I can't remember where in the US is staying, but he now already has more than 15 years of animation experience, and he has a very absurd art style at times, but he's a very chill dude. So every time I was stumped, and he's also a music guy, he also makes music too, very nice songs. So whenever I was stumped on animation and art, I'll basically just meet him, and I'll also show the clip, and he'll basically give me a ton of feedback that I'll normally have to pay top dollar for, go through hours of YouTube tutorials for free. He was even the one that actually helped me, get a basic idea for the first version of the logo for the game. It was him. Then there's somebody else, Joseph Kasai. He is also a musician, and basically many of the stuff that I had no experience in music whatsoever. I usually just play by ear, but many music theories and definitions I still have no clue to this day. But thanks to him, I was getting a lot of the tips and advice on how to fix stuff like from equalization, certain melodies, etc., etc. It was thanks to them. So, and there's also my rival, Eric, who is even working on a game called Lucid. He was also the one that gave me some very useful feedback on things like game juice and so on that I desperately needed somewhere back in 2022 and 2023 when I was building my game through the prototyping phase. So overall, it was more like, instead of finding people to actually just like do the thing, for me, it was more like I would find people that were very clearly better than me to show me the ropes on how to do that thing, then I'll end up just doing it myself. I mean, definitely now it's different now since I'm able to actually hire local talent or anybody outside that is interested in the game. That's basically the major criteria. You know, to know this game to some extent and actually want to do it, because I'd rather not force people to do things that they don't like not even for monetary gain. So that's basically how it is now. Now I get people that are interested, but on a normal day, I would rather just learn from them and then just do it myself if I can.
Oh, sorry, just quickly, because you said you're talking about Discord, and I'm assuming the G Develop community. So for you, it's mostly been like people online who have been able to reach out to. That sounds really good.
I was like mostly just at home. Like I barely go anywhere, and I was just out, so I was more of a hermit. So my major other personality that talks a lot was online on WhatsApp and Discord. So those are the people that I'll meet and like, I'm really stuck in this place. Can you help me? How do I feel like? Or maybe I was working on a track on the game now. Like I have been stuck here for weeks. I really do not know how to continue this thing further. Then one of them will just probably continue a week for something or a melody halfway through, and I'm like, that's actually really good. Thank you so much. And then continue from there. So it was mostly online communities and feedback that I'll get whenever I needed help.
I think my question was already in line with what was asked earlier, but just to refine it, I want to know what is your fundamental philosophy with addressing financial challenges and social challenges. And just to define that, the financial challenges, because we know that for the average person to begin this kind of journey takes a lot, even from your laptop, it takes a lot. So how did you face that, the mindset that you use? And then the social challenge, because, we are young and your parents are looking out for you. What are you doing? Is it this game that you want to do? Can you eat? So how did you really overcome that to get to the stage that you are now? Thank you.
Sorry, who's the question addressed to?
I can
Okay,
distribute.
Okay, so the brother. That's the senior brother. This is the younger brother. Upstanding.
All right. My question is directed. It's for you to explain better on this. Would you advise upcoming game developers to start their own studio, and why?
That's a great question. Ni hao. Ooh, shishi ni.
Hello, Hugo, Tade, Victory. So amazing session, first of all. My question will be, we started from Nigeria, and are we planning to go global? This is my first question. My second question is, if yes, which continent, which market will be the first one that we are going for? And my last question, sorry, apologies, is what resources do you need to achieve your business goals? So this is my question. Thank you.
Did you hear that last question? What resource do you need?
All right. My name is Timmy, and the question is directed towards Tade. The other time you mentioned that you recruit talents, like you outsource your projects. So how do you deal with the issues of like trusting talent and scouting for the right level for the right project? There are different levels to how skilled we are. There are people that are intermediate, there are people that are pro, there are people that are at beginner level. So let's say on different tasks, who do you check for when you're looking for people, and where do you normally scout for your talent? Do you normally scout with maybe like from friends or different social media platforms, or how do you go about that?
Okay, so my question is, all this is addressed to Tade, but I think it's best for the two of you. So my question is regards to feature creep, like you mentioned. Feature creep, like you mentioned. So when you have, because regularly when you're developing your video game, you have to have user feedback and user review, right? How well do you have to how do you maintain not adding new features that delay your your release dates, while also attending to the new questions or remarks that have been made from your user fan base? Then the second one is more of like an inspirational thing. I want to know how much do you derive inspiration from other mediums or other art mediums, movies, music, and movies and music basically, rather than just the gaming ones.
Over to you.
All right, thank you. It's a lot of questions. We have very little time remaining, so we're going to try and be very efficient. Victory, you can answer the question around financial, social, and support requirement. Tade, trust, feature creep, because you spoke about that earlier. Did I miss anything? Sorry? Yeah, I talked about resources. And then global. So what markets are you going to target? Yeah? Should we start with Victory? But keep it short. I'm going to time you.
So first things first, very good question. As for the financial one, like I said before, I basically had to work through multiple jobs and multiple skill sets and save up little by little until the major pitching opportunities arrived where I would apply to them over and over until eventually we won. So that was that. And in terms of the support part, like with parents and everything, like that support, like, are you sure you're going to do this and that? The ultimate stuff, at least from my experience, was they honestly really care about you and they would rather just know that you're at least stable enough to continue pursuing whatever you're dreaming of. So once you have that as a backup plan, like, yeah, I have this and that going on while I'm pushing towards making this game or whatever, they honestly leave you alone. I have been through enough of those to know. So.
And then support. What kind of support would you need to achieve your goals? So, our friends there from Transion were asking, what kind of financial support do you need to achieve your goals?
Or like currently, or how it was back then?
No. So you're looking to launch later this year.
Yeah.
What is the goal and what kind of support would you need to achieve that?
So in terms of support, the major one that we honestly just need is, just like how niche our industry is, we just need lots of eyes. We need people that will be passionate enough to at least see the game for what it is and not just simply slap a label on it and judge it wrongly. Just people that see it for what it is and help shed eyes on it. Because we are actually basically following the same mode whereby we actually want to make games for anyone or everyone to play. We've been region locked before, so I know how it feels. So we want to release the game on any platform that supports us. It could be Steam, it could be Xbox, it could be PlayStation, Switch, anywhere. And in terms of region, so we are targeting everywhere. So far, most of our viewers and honestly feedback can actually come from places like Japan, Russia, and the United States, and also from Nigeria too. So those are probably more of the major picks, but we are also very, very open to dropping and having proper access in every other country that welcomes us. So in terms of support, it's just mostly just getting eyes on the game.
Okay. So I have a few questions to answer. I hope I remember them. The first one that comes to mind was he asked if I would advise upcoming developers to start a studio. Honestly, if you can, I would advise you to, especially if you don't have problematic personality problems like I do. It's beneficial to have a team that all believe in a vision and to be able to work together with them to achieve that. It's significantly easier. I wouldn't advise this thing I'm doing to anybody that has sense. The next question, if I remember correctly, the next, trust. Yeah, so like I said, before this game, I was working on a different game, like a VR horror game. And even before then, even in my freelance career, sometimes I need to outsource some work because even though I can do a lot of things, like you said, some people might do better, and it's just like efficient, yeah? So over that time, I've built up like a sort of network of few people that I trust. So even when I say outsource, it's not like a bunch of people. There's someone I trust that can do concept art. He's my good friend, so I've known him. When I was working on the VR game, I reached out to a bunch of 3D modelers to help me do like the character, the model. That's when I met Daniel online. This is the first time I'm meeting in person, actually, even though we've known each other for like, 3 to 4 years. So I reached out to them, I checked out their work, because most of the things I needed help with, that I've needed help with, is something like is visual-ish, whatever. So you can check out their work, you can text them, and you build a relationship. So because of that, I can use them for the next project. That's that. It's my brain. Oh yeah, feature creep. What was it about feature creep? Yeah, okay, yeah, I remember the question now. I guess the beneficial thing to do would be to get the chorus version of the game out there early enough. Because that would also help you to build out what you should plan for. So while there are iterations, like now I have a new demo up, and there will be feedback, the thing is, I've put out a demo before. I put out 2 demos before. I've gotten core feedback. I've gotten feedback again. Now, this one is closer to launch, and I will prioritize bugs, like game crashing bugs, and mostly that it's unlikely that a feature request that somebody says, oh, I really love this game, but it'd be nice if I could fly upside down. nice, I love the idea, but like, I'm just not going to do that in 2 months. Yeah. So the earlier you put out a version, even if it's to a small group, a larger group, the earlier you can get that feedback that you can incorporate into your plan. But later on, the sort of feedback that matters is what can crash the game, like what is game breaking, what is like changing. Yeah. Distribution. Yeah. So, I mean, so while I say like I'm working with like a local, like Nigerian, my target audience isn't like particularly Nigerian. Currently, I'm targeting first English-speaking countries because localization is a hassle. So places like the US and the UK, which are like big, and Europe, which are big markets. For this sort of game, because I also plan to do a Switch launch, like a Nintendo Switch launch after the initial PC and Xbox launch, I'm also trying to figure out targeting Asian markets. So I've been in some conversations with Chinese publishers to handle localization and marketing in those sectors. And so that is a goal for me. And some of the things, like you also asked, support, looks like, I mean, one, funding helps, makes everything easier. But also, one of the key things is go-to-market. So publishing or marketing, those are more of the bigger constraints here because it's just things we've just not done. We've not hacked it. We don't have games that have gone to market that much. So breaking into these markets that I'm targeting would be sort of like the biggest supports I could get. Yeah.
Thank you. I've got one last question. I know they're going to kick us out anytime now. The Nigerian gaming ecosystem, in your view, from your perspective, from where you stand, where is it? Right? From a support standpoint, like where is it in terms of relevance to you? Don't describe what it is, just from my standpoint, this is what it is. This is how I use it, right? And then what do you think it can do so that in 12 months' time, hopefully, you understand, we can reposition small to make sure that it becomes useful to enable you achieve your goals?
Okay, that's a good one. So I think for me, the Nigerian ecosystem exists as a thing I can look towards and be like, okay, I think there's some potential here. This can grow to be something big. There are people that are interested. There are people that have some talent. And I think growing that and growth looks like just more people doing things, more people building and shipping games, more people trying to figure out going to market, more people figuring out music in games or trailers or whatever, just more people interested in doing these things that are all required to make a good game is sort of the thing that would kind of elevate the ecosystem. Of course, support works. Trainings, conferences help to, one, give like visibility to what is possible and all of that. And I think all of that comes together to kind of grow it. But yeah, I think the skill level needs to up itself in a way that I can feel comfortable meeting a roadblock and feel comfortable that I can benefit, like I can get out of that from the existing people that exist. And I'm going to stop talking now.
Okay, the follow-up question is like, do I answer this as a game developer or as a gamer?
Both. I mean, like, I guess he's answered. So rather than repeating, because I'm sure your perspective might, so you can go the other side.
Yeah, I'll answer this as a gamer. Honestly, I feel like at some point we need to like build up the ecosystem to be more encouraging to people that actually just want to branch out from the typical established type of games that are already existing in this country. Because so far, from what I have observed at least though, the major type of games that you see any casual gamer easily want to pick up is like anything that has literally released on the PlayStation. Oh, you want a God of War. Oh, you want GTA 6. Oh, FIFA, Madden, something. Basically, those type of very heavy AAA games are the ones that have been conditioned to. It's either those ones and anything else that is not really that is usually a mobile game. But anything else from the thousands or hundreds of thousands of wonderful indie games that have already existed elsewhere, the people that have played those games are very, very few. And majority of them is usually via piracy. Mostly because those type of games, especially from my experience before, it was literally barely 2 years ago that my cards was able to actually buy something on Steam. But before that, I was actually very grateful to Xbox for doing something that I'm surprised no other competition actually ended up doing. They localized it in to Naira. The joy I felt buying games that I know I pirated before, buying them like, yes, I'm supported these days at last because I'm actually not going to do this thing. I'm entering this field as well. It's sublime. And now being able to actually do the same thing on Steam, although Steam's own case is still seriously in its localized price because I do not know why I would have to pay a full teacher salary on a game. That is still way too expensive. And I feel like once that barrier now has been eroded once and for all, no how, especially the onboarding quest, because again, I suffered for 3 years to get a Steam account too. Yeah, but that was another story for another day. But I feel like the moment those barriers are crumbling down more and more, thankfully, in other aspects of the industry, it's already crumbling. Netflix, Amazon, Spotify, all of that has been localized. Anybody can access it as long as they have a phone and some change. So if that same thing is applied to the likes of Steam or any other place now, anybody from a simple mobile phone to a very weak PC can end up playing more and more games, more and more quality games that can actually end up being played for cheap without needing to be like, I want to play games, but it's either I play just mostly Call of Duty or some simple game I can get on my phone or PPSSPP. They know themselves. So, so those type of games via emulation, instead of just being on that, finally be able to now have access to a huge flood of both the good, the bad, and the ugly kind of games as well. So we end up advancing and actually being more favorable towards games that are also being developed from ourselves. Because the more we play more games out there, the more people will be able to actually end up being like, yeah, I know this type of games I'm looking for, and the more we end up having more and more of a good time. So I feel like the industry now has always more towards that as a gamer, but I still feel like still more of those songs still need to be tackled.
I love it. Contender. Pay attention. Thank you very much. Thanks, Tade. Thanks, Victory, for sharing. Really appreciate it. And thanks for the audience. You guys have to give yourself a round of applause for also engaging. All right.